Story 1, Chapter H. The Seven Magical Adventures of Shunai. The Quest for the Ancient Wisdom Map. The Brotherhood of Pao. Presented and narrated by Jim Jara, the storyteller, representing the guiding force of fantasy and magic, residing in Fairy Tale Palace Planet. Chapter H. Darkania. Leaving Ikokania, they left the minimum time zone, and while heading for the first city in Darkania, also called the City of the Jackal, Niyama took the opportunity to explain some history of Darkania, surrounded by a reddish poison mist. Darkania, situated at the slopes of the Black Mountains, was called in the past the Land of the Giants because of its many cities with skyscrapers founded by the Collecterians. It was the promised land of the modern world that represented money, wealth, and prosperity, and as you know, Shunai, already, the Collecterians discovered rich gem mines, and this is how their wealth and power in the Red Planet started. City after city was erected by the increasing wealth of the Collecterians, who at one point in time started an economy war through competing with each other, each wanting to have the power over the entire market and industry. That's why you could see from the distance as well old destroyed cities. Morai commented, these wars against each other was financed by the Brotherhood, and when a lot was destroyed, they organized through politicians that they all made peace again. To rebuild most of the destroyed cities, the Collecterians were given loans that came from the Brotherhood. Most members of the Brotherhood are ascendants from the very first rich owners of the gem mines, which is a story by itself, how all the power came in the hands of only a few. After the gem mines had no more gems, of which most of them were exported and sold in different planets and galaxies, the Collecterians wanted to be free of the food supply they got from the Dwarfins and Goliaths, and they started a new industry, not based on quality, but fast food, entertainment, and fashion. This is how the Metallicondas came into existence, and how the hunting down of Dwarfins and Goliaths started, as they needed workers, and didn't need them anymore for their food supply. The Land of the Giants received a new name, Fake Valley. Each city, with its own city council, started to create their separate worlds, giving their city a different name and wearing different symbols on their dark red woolen robes with hoods, and designed with a flame pattern. Passports came into play, and with the increasing crime a police force was organized, robots, under the command of each city council. The industry of replacing body parts and pieces that came forth from their unhealthy lifestyle became a major industry, and even individuals were killed for their organs. Yes, Shunai, you came up with a great plan, because making new organs and body parts will be of great interest. Every Collecterian wears their main identical robe with symbol, long robes to cover their unhealthy bodies, and through time their faces became like masks without expression. The new fashion is, however, to play with the outer beauty, especially the women busy with colored eye lenses, long artificial lashes, piercings, tattoos, jewelry, artificial nails, and another industry arose. As the name Fake Valley already indicates, it is a total artificial world where they are living in. The branding The breeding of big and scary looking dogs is another industry that arose, as the dog stood for power and protection. The Collecterians loved their angry looking dogs, and the angrier, the better. The healthcare system of the Collecterians is based on the healthcare practitioners being paid by sick individuals, and is a system that basically keeps people sick and dependent on the system and others. Genai commented that on her planet this is the same. The next what happened was that different city tribes visited each other's cities, starting riots, stealing ideas from each other, and at one point in time it ended up in acts of terrorism and even war, and several cities are now ruins, completely destroyed. In the Black Mountains, where the rich Collecterians and the rich owners of the gem mines had built their luxury homes and palaces, also became troubled places, until each city tribe moved together to one particular mountain close to their city, and started to live as different tribes. The recyclants, who have only one purpose, to clean and recycle, were unable to keep up with the waste and poison, but did whatever they could, bringing the waste down into the labyrinths of Cyclondor, and trying to recycle them. Then the time came that the recyclants were not welcome anymore. The Collecterians did not want them to come and clean, because they wanted to keep the power by selling new and not recycled items. The recyclants have not been welcome at all, and although they did the cleaning in the beginning, the Collecterians freaked out each time they saw a recyclone. They were afraid of them and hated them. Traps were set up to kill them, just like humans do with cockroaches, ants, rats, and mice. The entrances to the tunnels of Cyclondor were all closed, and the Collecterians changed their garbage export to the old gem mines and used the garbage to fill the mine tunnels. These sites are dangerous, as toxic fumes are coming from within these mines, and not to mention the smell. The worst thing on top of this is that the toxins leak through the ground and become part of the water coming from the mountains and affecting the soil, and then the produce growing on it. The health in the cities went down rapidly, also to the fact that the land surrounding the cities that had to supply the food for those in the cities became weaker and weaker by mass productions and using chemicals. Now Darkania is a world standing in the midst of dark red and black poisonous clouds. Genai asked where the Collecterians came from, and Morai answering that the Collecterians came from another planet, a planet with rough lands and rough living circumstances, and lived on their survival instinct. They had to fight for everything and were willing to kill to protect for what they got. And this way of living and consciousness stayed with them, even when they came to the Red Planet and got richer. The Collecterians have completely fallen into the negative aspects of Ertos, which is Lord Dagan, representing greed, power, control, possessiveness, false securities filling up, depleting Mother Nature from all its resources and manipulating nature. Niam added that most Collecterians had not yet the awareness to see that their entire existence was at stake, for everything was still fine in their opinion. There was enough medicine and hospitals to keep them going, and the cities were decorated to be a 365 year of the year palace, a place of celebration, and this put the real problems in disguise. It is an artificial and dangerous world that could explode and extinct in an instant. Genai stated that this was a similar situation on her planet and hoped she could find some answers to help her planet. Looking for the Brotherhood of Pao. They chose one particular city entrance, and arriving at the man-made river surrounding the city with a side swing bridge, they were stopped by a guard and passports were checked. When they rode over the side swing bridge, Genai looked at the river water and thought that this water is so poisoned that nobody even with a boat could cross it. As soon as they were over the side swing bridge, the bridge was pulled in and basically nobody could enter that particular city. After a second passport control, the plan was to visit each city, which had its own name and which was dedicated to an animal, and a corresponding symbol was worn on their robes. Genai saw the erected statues of the animals and individuals sitting on their knees, worshipping them. Before visiting the different cities, they looked around in the Metalikondas, the suburbs of the manufactories with the high chimneys, and they understand at one moment why they were capturing children. The very hard labor was now done by machines and robots, and the Collecterians needed smart and young children who loved to work with computers and robots. It was not busy at all in the Metalikondas, and they wondered where all the children and the captured children are. In the heart of the city, Genai sees that all buildings are painted or covered with plastic plates and artificial colors of red, burgundy, gray, and black. They are suddenly part of many individuals standing on the self-moving streets, a world where people do not even have to walk anymore, but it was very busy. "Look at that," said Genai, looking at many groups of captured children, guarded by nice-looking and smiling robots, all having a tour through the city. "Now I get it," spoke Marai. "I can see that many children would want to live the life of the Collecterians. I have heard enough complaints from parents regarding their children that feel restricted, not being able to have the modern life the Collecterian children have. The Collecterians have possibly a plan to integrate these children and giving them enough so they do not want to go back to their old lifestyle," answered Marai. "This is very bad," answered Genai. "It happened to all of us," stated Marai. "What do you mean with that, Marai?" "You see, when we as souls, crystal children of light, got separated from Kandu, and when we did let our mind fall under the dictates of our sense organs, the same happened. This deep pain of separation and longing to be with Kandu, our Creator, is being distracted by endless things our mind and the creation have to offer. Possibly the Collecterians have a good plan to distract the children, and possibly they forget about their parents, just as we on a daily basis forget about Kandu, our real father." Marai continued speaking. "They are first giving the children all they are looking for and wanting to do and have, and then I expect that the Collecterian educate them to make their own money by working in the Metalikondas, so they can keep on continuing their new lifestyle. Most children will go for this, when it would come that far." Life looked like an assembly line of individuals going to work, standing in line for food and mostly fast food restaurants. Individuals and small groups of Collecterians with their big dogs, dressed in their long robes reflecting the color of their city and with their faceless expression, stand in between the many strange-looking foreigners from other planets visiting the cities in Darkania. It was sometimes hard to see if a Collecterian was male or female, except for the fact that more females had artificial eyelashes, colored eye lenses, painted nails, and dark red lips, and wearing lots of jewelry. They all really looked strange. It felt more like a world of robots because a lot of machinery had taken over many hands. Cash registers were replaced by computerized robots with an upper body only. Banks inside looked empty and sterile, as there are no employees to be seen. Everything is computerized. Each mega store, and there were no small stores, and the huge malls had endless attractions for children. Chennai didn't see too many parents with their children. Possibly the parents in the cities not, did not spend time with their young children as they are too busy. Parents probably dropped them off at these centers who kept them busy. Niyama, picking up on Chennai's thought, said, "Many children do not miss the affection and togetherness with their parents, as they more or less can do what they want and busy with the endless attractions." Hospitals were in abundance because individuals did not take care of themselves, and Niyama explained that most collectarians rather had parts and pieces taken out and or replaced. Life around the hospitals was busy as part and pieces from other citizens who had died were delivered. Everywhere between and on the side of the streets that moved were plastic trees and plants, illuminated with artificial lights. Giant screens with advertisement of things showing how to be happy and to be accepted were everywhere. Chennai looked at the advertisements about liquor, smoking, and owning big homes, all with happy faces. There were many commercials about medication to take care of every little discomfort and ache, and the latest invention was the no pain pill. Niyama stated that this unfortunately took all feelings from one, and that it was hard to discover any upcoming big illness. In the city center, they looked at fountains spraying artificial red-colored water, small rivers, ponds and lakes, all filled with artificial colored water. Inside the stores, all selling items had grade 1, 2 or 3 written on them. Grade 1 for the really rich, grade 2 was for the middle class, and grade 3 for the lower class. The mega stores carried toxic paint, plastic furniture, and artificial carpets. The smell of artificial scents and perfumes were terrible for Niyama. Then there were lipstick stores, nail care, eye fashion, stores for piercing, and stores for hand and face tattoos. There were ice cream parlors with ice packed with artificial ingredients, candy stores with intense artificial colors, and stores with unnatural juices. Clothing stores with mostly just long robes as everybody was covered almost from top to toe and made with unnatural fibers. Dog stores with everything regarding dog fashion, plastic surgery clinics, and pharmacies. There were fashion hotels with dressed-up collectarians and mega movie theaters, with movies running, all main roles taken by collectarians. The collectarians were addicted to endless things, including gambling, and were fanatics with picture-taking. Chennai read a sign, "Relationship Saviors," and finds out that they only sold tickets connected to city entertainment, seemingly their way of saving relationships. Every minute free time was filled with entertainment. The Golden Years Paradises, as they were called, got Chennai really upset. It was about getting older in the cities, and she found out that it is an agency that gets older people in malls and plans for the elder people to end up in homes with hospitals for the elderly. She finds out that none of the older collectarians live with their children. Collectarians have no time and do not know how to take care at home of the elderly, nor did the elder generation know how to take care of themselves. Chennai asked Niyama, "I read almost in every street the sign, 'The Flush.' What is that?" "They are small clinics that help to flush the body. Most collectarians, because of the food they eat, holding on to things, and being in the extreme control business, are chronically constipated. Torah would explain you more about this, but there is definitely a significant connection, and this is basically a message, but they see it as a sickness. Instead of assisting to clean with some gentle natural products, or even enemas, they take a very strong laxative, which reacts effectively, but very harsh on the body. But then they can go immediately to the bathroom. The collectarians suffer many diseases connected to the large intestines, all indicating that too much waste sits in their body, and that again linked to them being so controlling and holding on to things. They visit city after city, and Dionyx does an incredible job by dressing them up in the most attractive clothing, reflecting wealth and power, and they become the talk of the day wherever they went. Rich new collectarians did send their servants out and contacting Dionyx, who became the spokesperson in the street, because he holds everybody in distance as the bodyguard, and they get to know that they are visiting to sell the invention of producing organs and body parts coming from individuals' DNA. The new rich collectarians hear this rumor, but are hesitant to go into any negotiations as they are very skeptical business owners and have first individuals spy on them. Finally, the plans start to work, and it was time, as they feel time is running out regarding to turn things around on the Red Planet. As they check into a luxurious hotel, they are contacted by a special team of Collectarian warriors, who were the private guards of the Brotherhood, inviting them to a secret meeting of the Brotherhood of Pau. The head of the guards told them that this was a special occasion to be invited by the Brotherhood. Morai stated that they had not expected less than being invited by their elite society, of which they had heard about. The negotiations. It was confirmed with this that the Brotherhood wanted the first major contact and possible contracts, and do not want the new rich collectarians in the game. They ended up in one of the highest skyscrapers in Darkanian, and after taking a private elevator they entered the penthouse, which was more like a penthouse palace, with a window view to all four winds. It was built in a similar fashion as Portico, but giving the feeling of a large living room with different areas on different levels, slightly different in height. The chairs, tables and cabinets were part of the fixed structure of the black and shining marble floors, and plateaus with many glass elevators. Together with the different earth-colored drapery and woolen decorations and many rugs gave the place a very comfortable feeling. The head of the private guard showed them around and told them to wait in a comfortable sitting area. The guards left, and Morai reminds very quietly Janai again about the false promise, and that the Brotherhood doesn't want that individuals are successful, because they have no control on what a successful person is doing with the money and their power. The real control they want is to be in control what others owe them. So this is how the system is built. You tell individuals who all think that life is hard and that there is something missing, what they need to have in order to be happy. You do this by marketing and advertisement. Then you give people credit cards, you give them study loans, other loans and mortgages, and they owe you money. Then everybody is afraid to lose what they accumulated, and then you can sell them other things connected to a system based on fear and unawareness. You offer protection that comes in various forms, including insurances, Individuals are mostly unhappy as they have lost their inner contact with Kandu. Their life is unfulfilled, and then it gets filled up with worldly things for which you pay. After a little while, out of the glass elevators, the members of the Brotherhood start to arrive. They bowed to the guests, and when Lord Dagan arrived, Genai got very confused, as Ertos and Lord Dagan looked exactly alike. They are introduced and are invited to dine with the Brotherhood. The members of the Brotherhood are all collectarians, male and female, but all of them looked healthy compared to any collectarians Genai had seen up to that moment. There are no talks regarding business during dinner, and there are also no questions asked because that would be impolite. Showing off and questioning is not something that the very wealthy individuals do when facing each other. They have other means to find out about each other. The wealth and power reflected from the four visitors, which was a form of trust, and was a bridge to spend time together. After dinner they all sat comfortably together, and Morai took the lead, saying, "We are thankful for your hospitality and a great dinner. We had come with great business plans, but we have changed our mind, because we don't want any business with individuals that capture children. On our planet, children are the most precious treasures." Lord Dagan spoke. "Dear honorable guest, we assure you that we have nothing to do with this." Morai stated, "We thank you for this dinner, and we would like to come back as soon this tragedy has come to an end." "Why the rush? Let's talk about the business you came for, and anyway, in the state of alarm we are in on our planet, nobody can fly in or out anyway." Unfortunately, we have made up our mind, and the only thing that could change this, that when you would do something about this situation, which will benefit you as well. We have come to know that new rich collectarians are taking wealth and power in their hands by creating a new working force of children, so they don't need to pay you, and that they as well are producing their own weapons they usually buy from you. We ask you one more time to interfere with the new rich collectarians, and by the way, realize that they are interfering with your business. Lord Dagan responded, "We don't want to interfere at this moment in time in regards the capturing of children and the manufacturing of their own weapons. There is a plan, however, which we will share with you, and soon this all will be over. We have thought the situation through, and we know that Golots and Dwarfens and other tribes who lost their children want to have them back, and we are going to provide them with money to start a war, plus we are going to sell them our weapons. We will make sure that they will win, so they can pay us back, and at the end the new rich collectarians will have to pay for the foreign workers that we had in mind in the first place." Genai whispered in Niama's ears, "They have in mind to win on all fronts, and they are so snobby, knowing that in the end they always win, no matter what. To let this situation continue will bring them more money and power. Everybody will owe them money. And by doing so I can see that they want to get rid of the life credit system, which they have no control over and which doesn't bring them anything," added Niama. Genai was as well amazed that the members are not even getting upset when Morai reveals his thoughts on the Brotherhood's situation, which is basically interfering with their business. But Genai is getting upset about their attitude and plans. she waves her hand to Morai, stating to have a short break. They went to sit in a private area, and most members of the Brotherhood went to freshen up. While being some time by themselves, Genai states that the Brotherhood is very snobby and is actually the evil of society, and that there should be done something against them. Morai responded, "Like punishing them?" Genai, "Now you sound like a collectarian." No need to judge. Realize that the entire economy would fall apart, and the modern worldly people are not ready yet to return to a simple life. So you have to question, is it the Brotherhood or the people? Morai explains that the Brotherhood doesn't understand that they themselves are also under the control of Kallimobanku, the mind from which we ask endless things from this world, and that it controls us as long as we have wishes and desires. So here you can also ask, who is the evil? Is it us who are not content and are not willing to accept life as it is, or is it the mind which grants the wishes? Genai thought that Kandu granted all wishes, and Morai responded that we do not know for what to ask, as we always ask for things of the world, which are granted by Kallimobanku. When Kandu is the all-knowing, he would know what we need, isn't it? Kallimobanku, as the governor of Crystallia, has the duty to grant every wish and desire. By means of this, his domain stays occupied with souls. Like the Brotherhood, he doesn't want that individuals reconnect with Kandu, because from that moment on he loses control over them. Morai explains that our lives are like robots, like books, written by ourselves or by Kandu. As long as we think that there is something missing or wrong, we connect with Kallimobanku, the mind, and we ask for things, and we make ourselves into victims in our own book, or seeing, and make others as victims in their book. Morai explained that there are very many strange books, but they all have a purpose, and when not in our eyes for a purpose in the world, most likely written for a higher purpose, to reconnect again with Kandu. Again, Morai explains on how the entire process starts. Individuals wanting things and money, loaners, individuals and bank will provide credit, loans and mortgages. And once the process starts, it becomes a vicious circle. The result is that individuals and even couples have to work more to pay off the debts, and then becoming dissatisfied and wanting more in order to feel happy. They need more money because they have others taking care of their children, and not to forget working more and not taking care of one's health creates insecurities. And then everybody buys insurance, and they have to pay that as well. It is a big price we pay for anything we want, which is actually loaned to us by Kallimobanku. Nothing and nobody in the mortal world will ever belong to us, nor will we ever be able to control them. All of us came without anything, and will depart that way. The turning point. When everybody sat together, Morai pleaded again to stop the capturing of children right now, but the Brotherhood stands by their decision, but expresses that they are really curious to know what a future business could be with them. Genai wanted to stand up and argue and leave, but it was at that moment, while looking out of the windows, that they saw the Securion battle fleet appearing coming from the Shadow World. Everybody was shocked, and they all looked at what happened as a fierce battle started between the hovering Collecterian pirate ships and the Securions. At that moment, at the same moment, the Recyclons, the Securions, Dwarfins and Galots had opened the old entrances to the tunnels of Cyclondor, and they all stormed into the Metallicondas and cities to free the children. Everybody was standing at the window, and then even more help came. Millions of bats were flying out of the tunnels and assisting the Securian fleet, and everybody on the ground by flying so close around the Collecterians that they could not fight. There are not hands enough on the ground to help the children to escape, but many Securians make their way down to the ground by long ropes that are led down from the battleships. They move into the Metallicondas and cities floating above the buildings to assist and free the captured children, and returned with them, some even carrying 3 or 4 children, holding the ropes coming from the battleships and being pulled up by other strong Securians. It all happened very fast, and many other children went down with their rescuers into the tunnels, and possibly into the speed trains that used to transport the waste away from Darkania to the recycling plants of Cyclondor in the past. The robot protection force from the Collecterians was nowhere to be seen, and nobody seemed to know why until that moment when Serena came flying in with a smile on her face. Direnex explained softly to her friends that he had sent Serena out to find the central station from which the robots were activated and programmed. He mentioned that Serena must have discovered the central operating system of the robots and had messed around with the power source, and that was the reason the robot force was not operating. When they looked at the videos Serena had made, everything was confirmed. The bats kept flying around and the Collecterians are unable to do anything, and the Securian fleet disappeared, and then the bats also disappeared again. The 4 friends have all a big smile on their face, and the members of the Brotherhood are a little in shock, taken by surprise. "Let's sit down and discuss business," spoke Lord Dagan with a cold voice, and continued saying, "Your problem with the captured children seemingly is solved." Chennai wanted to jump out of her skin, realizing that it all didn't matter to the Brotherhood, as they always win, as Lord Dagan had stated. Now the Brotherhood would make immediately money on the foreign workers that they had in mind for the new rich Collecterians. Everybody just wanted to step away from the windows when an incredible noise and tremendous shaking came from below, and then they saw the earth starting to split open, and slowly many factories and parts of other cities started to disappear into the earth. Collecterians and all the strange visitors from all over the universe were running and screaming and seeking a safe place. The building the meeting took place stood strong although it was shaking, and the members of the Brotherhood of Pau, together with their visitors, watched the end of the empire of the Collecterians. Sparacuta safe. At that same moment in Sparacuta, the old volcano started to become active, but in such a way that there was no danger for an eruption, but the fumes coming from below made the attacking of the Collecterians on the Robobirds impossible because their view became limited through the fumes and ash that came with it. There was no other solution for them other than to leave. The Collecterians, still battling in Sparacuta, realized that this was the end for them as well, and their only escape, and to possibly not get caught by Toro and the Securians, was to catch a ride with one of the Robobirds. Securians came out from their defense situations and started to hunt down these Collecterians, of which many tried to jump onto one of the Robobirds, but because of the limited view they missed their possible ride and disappeared down into the volcano. Other Robobirds who got too many Collecterians grabbing onto them cannot take the weight, and because nobody wants to let go, they too disappear down into the volcano. Those Robobirds that managed to disappear into the shadow world had to face another surprise, as the Securion fleet was awaiting them. It was now just a matter of time to wait for the volcano to quiet down so everybody could get out of their hiding places. Toro made his move to join his friends because his immediate help was not needed anymore. Tribon safe. At the same time in Tribon, the Collecterian invasion, who had made it over the mountain passes, were coming down the mountain slopes to battle with the Tribonese, who were hiding in their indestructible homes, which were still under the attack of Robobirds dropping big-sized rocks. It was at that moment an enormous hailstorm came from above and knocked down the Robobirds and most of the Collecterians coming down from the mountain slopes. Those few Collecterians coming down the mountain who thought they were safe and had escaped the hail got caught by avalanches that started because of the big hail coming down on the snow. The hailstorm and the avalanches didn't take longer than 5 minutes, and Tribon was safe. Portigo and Miniok City safe. A little time before the earthquake happened in Darkania, Ertos had asked the Dwarfins and Golots, who had their hawks, to use them to find any Collecterians who were hiding. Hundreds of hawks flew around in Portigo and Miniok City, and in no time the Securians captured the Collecterians. It was at that moment that Ertos had given the instructions to the Securion fleet to go through the Shadow World and free children in Darkania. Ecocania safe. The uprising of the extremists in Ecocania loses at that moment its significance, as they all watch from a distance what happened in Darkania, and the only thought that comes to mind to everybody is to go and help. Darkania in need of help. The entire council stands up and the four friends as well, and they all feel having to go to assist wherever they can. Genai sent Serena to every place possible, telling them what just happened in Darkania. Instinctively, everybody felt the need to go and help the wounded in Darkania. Ertos showed up sometime later, coming through the Shadow World on a ship with a Securion force together with Dwarfins and Golots. All the captured Collecterians everywhere inside the planet were released, and all the Collecterians that survived the earthquake came to help the wounded. Toro came flying in on his eagle, and the Ecocanians, the Tribonese, and the Red Druids showed up, and all the hands were needed, especially the many hands of the Recyclons cleaning up the debris and looking for individuals trapped under collapsed buildings. The dead bodies are being gathered and prepared to be taken to the caverns of the Heremids, where they would be buried. Diarrhea breaks out amongst the Collecterians, being a sign which Toro explains that they cannot hold on to anything anymore. They lost their control and everything is running away from them. The Brotherhood sees all their plans failing, however. They know that their money is needed and that the surviving Collecterians will need this to rebuild their life and possible empire. Their money will be needed to further assist the wounded and to get proper food and medicine from the Dwarfins and Golots, which the Collecterians will have to pay for by giving them loans. Genai is so surprised that they are not even getting upset with that what just happened. Standing next to Morai after an entire day of helping, she asked, what was the purpose of it all? I realize that the Brotherhood of Pow won anyway, as the defeated Collecterians will not start living a simple life, but they would want the money to rebuild their empire and to have all such called comfort back in their life. They will be borrowing money from the Brotherhood, and the vicious cycle will start again. At least there is some peace for the moment. But most important is, what did you learn from it all, Chennai? The world is as it is, and the only thing you have really influence on is yourself. But as long as the mind is ruled by the sense organs, it will be a hard task. You need to keep on going to gather more treasures of what your father called the sacred archives, and you need to become the master of your mind. The real change is only possible, as your father predicted, coming from each individual. It is about the change you want to see in the world that can only take place on an individual level. Become more aware and become an example. And when you have all the treasures and have used them for yourself, maybe you can assist others. Other than the weeping sounds of mourning Collecterians who had lost family members, almost nobody talked. Everybody was just helping the wounded and carrying the dead onto the Securian warships and the captured Collecterian pirate ships that survived the battle. And slowly, like in a procession, they moved towards the caverns of the hermits. Genii and her friends, being in one of the warships, took the time to rest before they would end up at the caverns of the hermits. In a state of daydreaming, she had a talk with her grandma Niama, who showed her the plans for rebuilding Darkania, which will get a new name, Organica. Niama told her that Organica would be completely built from recycling materials, and that the homes would receive the name Earthships, and that organic farming and natural medicine would take over. Just this little new insight made her sadness go away, but deep inside she knew that the downward spiral also had started.